Hi, friends, and welcome to Stories and Spoilers, the podcast. I am so sorry for the weird setup. I am in my comfy snuggie, and I'm just so excited to talk about a few books that I've recently been loving, as well as doing a little bookish unboxing. This I hope is giving very much autumnal. My next episode coming up is going to be all Halloween books that I plan on reading this season, as well as Halloween books that I would recommend for you. So I have like 10 plus books to recommend next episode. So keep an eye out for that one. On this episode, I'm going to be recommending some teas that I've recently been loving with a little discount code for y'all. I have a book box. I have some books I've recently been really enjoying the past few months. So I hope that you like this. Grab a cozy cup of tea or coffee or something that brings you a lot of comfort and joy, where you're snuggy or you're comfy, put on a little soft blanket and tune in. Let's get into this. Okay, so I have my packages here. I have a few books that have been recommended by friends, some books that I've had my eye on. So yeah, let's do it. Okay. So the first book I want to mention is a book that is kind of fitting the vibe I've really been vibing with recently, which is haunted houses, mixed media. I love a good book that has elements of like an interview with a character who's not super reliable or like a podcast element. I like that in a story, especially if it's creepy. I Blame The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. That book was a Carrie retelling and it had a podcast episode element to it. So as you listen to the story, it was podcast episodes about what was happening in real time. It was so freaking good. And it was one of my favorite books of last year. So if you like Carrie, but you do not like Stephen King, I highly recommend The Weight of Blood because it was unique. It had elements of race. It had that creepy small town element. It had like telekinesis. It had a lot going on and it was just so freaking good. And the podcast element was divine. It just talks about like social media and stuff and how like our perception of what happens. If you can't talk to these people in real time, like you don't really know what happened. So good. But this book has an element of interviews. It has a haunted manuscript. It has grief. It's just super awesome and I cannot wait to just sink my teeth into it. And that is A Pocket Full of Teeth by Amy Hardy. This book sucked me in from the first sentence and I knew I had to read it. I'm sorry if you see Midnight if you're watching on YouTube. He just wants to be included. He loves being here for y'all. So, what is A Pocket Full of Teeth about? The police have questions for Eddie Sparrow, questions about a body found at the bottom of a well. As Eddie answers the officer's questions, she mentions a mysterious manuscript hidden in her recently deceased mother's desk drawer. The manuscript is about a young girl named Kat, who returned home after her own mother's death. As Eddie reads Kat's story, her own secrets emerge, and she begins to experience a strange phenomena: wet footprints, phone calls, and nightmares. But a book couldn't be haunted, could it? As her life unravels, Eddie realizes her story is inextricably connected to Kat's. But can she come to terms with the secrets haunting her, or will they consume her until there is nothing left? And that is A Pocket Full of Teeth by Amy Hardy. I cannot wait to read this. This author, her writing just pulled me in right away. And I'm so excited. So I am going to read the first line of this book because it just sounds so spooky and amazing. And it says, transcript, interview with Eddie Sparrow, 12:48 p.m., April 27th, 2021. Just to be clear, this isn't my story, and I'm still not sure what is real and what isn't. You enjoying your tea? So I just liked that. Like it gave me a very spooky vibe, very Lake Mungo vibes. That's a really spooky movie if you want to see it. Oof. But I don't know why this reminded me of that movie, that creepy movie, but it kind of does, and I'm here for it. Speaking of tea, by the way, I have a tea recommendation. I am an ambassador for a tea shop called Chapters Tea and Co. And with autumn coming around the corner, especially when I'm preparing for episodes for y'all, I do drink tea quite a bit. So some teas I recommend is the caramel apple spice and the caramel cabin. So the caramel apple spice I've been drinking hot and cold with a little bit of maple syrup, and it's so good. It's sweet, it's a little bit juicy, and it's just perfect for autumn. The caramel cabin, I actually haven't even tried yet. I'm excited to try it because I burn through tea. I drink so much of it. I usually have about 2 to 3 cups a day. But this one I've been saving for those cooler seasons here in Florida. It does get kind of cool and breezy. So if you want to try any of these really cool special edition autumn teas, I highly recommend using my code stories15 at checkout for 15% off. These teas are delicious. I'm a huge fan of the cozy apple spice. It smells like apple and cinnamon, like apple pie almost, but it's not overly sweet and it's just absolutely divine. So let me know if you want me to try this caramel cabin in real time for the episode, because I do not mind doing that. Okay, so like I said, the code for discount will be below, along with the company Chapters Tigo link below as well if you want to check those teas out. Okay, next book that I plan on reading in autumn, and I'm so excited to love because I really, really love seeing LGBTQIA plus representation in spooky tales. This was recommended to me by my friend Lily on Instagram. So thank you so much, Lily. And that is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. So I actually got this book in Georgia with my girlfriend a while back, and I've been meaning to read it. I've been saving it for October. So beyond excited to read this very soon. I have the audiobook, which I plan on listening to while I also read the physical book. So let's listen to a little bit about what this book's about. The spirit's face was screwed up in tight in a grimace. His fingers knotted into the material of his shirt. He wore a hooded black leather jacket over a white tee, faded jeans, and a pair of Converse. That's not Miguel, Maritza tried to whisper, but she never had a very good inside voice. Yadriel groaned and dragged a hand over his face. On the bright side, he had actually summoned a real spirit. On the not so bright side, he had summoned the wrong one. Oh, I am so, so excited to read this. Okay, that was a little quote on the back of the book. I will say that is the quickest way to get me to read a book is with a good little quote on the back or a strong first page. Yadriel has summoned a ghost and now he cannot get rid of him. When the traditional Latinx family has problems accepting his gender, Yadriel becomes determined to prove himself a real brujo. With the help of his cousin and best friend Maritza, he performs the Quince's ritual himself and sets out to find a ghost of his murdered cousin Miguel and set it free. However, the ghost he summons is actually Julian Diaz, the school's resident bad boy, and Julian is not about to go quietly into death. He is determined to find out what happened and tie up some loose ends before he leaves. Left with no choice, Yadriel agrees to help Julian so they can both get what they want. But the longer Yadriel spends with Julian, the less he wants him to leave. And that is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I cannot wait to read this. I just absolutely love a bit of a spooky tale. I love magic. I love romance, especially LGBTQIA plus romance. So thank you so much for this recommendation, Lily. I cannot wait to read this book. And thank you for my girlfriend for getting it for me because you're amazing. Okay, so the next book that I know I'm gonna love in this Halloweeny cozy season is Escaping Mr. Rochester by L.L. McKinney. So this cover has two Black women on the front in a cloud of smoke and moonlight, and they're wearing Victorian dresses. And I heard this is also LGBTQIA+, which we love to see. Okay, so what is this about? Jane Eyre has no interest in a husband. So it's a Jane Eyre retelling? And it's spooky? Say less. Eager to make her own way in the world, she accepts the governess position at Thornfield Hall. Though her new employer, Edward Rochester, has a charming air, not to mention a handsome face, Jane discovers that his smile can sharpen in an instant. Plagued by Edward's mercurial mood and the strange wails that echo through the corridors, Jane grows suspicious of the secrets hidden within Thornfield Hall, unaware of the true horrors lurking above her very head. On the topmost floor, Bertha Mason is trapped in more ways than one. After her whirlwind romance and marriage to Edward turned into a nightmare, he locked her away as revenge for withholding her inheritance. Now his patience grows thin in the face of Bertha's resilience and Jay's persistent questions, and both women are in more danger than they realize. When their only chance at safety and perhaps something more is in each other's arms, can they find and keep one another safe before Edward's dark machinations close in around them. And that is Escaping Mr. Rochester. I cannot wait to read this. It sounds so good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some books I've been loving. All right. And a book that I have been loving, I cannot stop reading. I am obsessed with this author's writing, is Elliot Rose, and that is the Chasing Wild book. This is a special edition with beautiful sprayed edges of wildflowers. And the front has this really, really beautiful display of giving like Western energy. This author writes really good taboo romances with curvy female representation, which I absolutely love to see. I have read like 4 of her books in literally like a month. A lot of her books are on Kindle Unlimited as well. This copy was actually gifted to me by the author from a giveaway. So thank you so much, Elliot Rose. This book is not Halloween themed, but it does fall under the category of a book that I have been loving. It was the first book in the series that made me fall in love with her writing. And ever since then, whenever I'm in a reading slump, I actually always go to a romance, specifically a cowboy romance, to kind of get me back in the saddle of reading. So let me tell you a little bit about what Chasing the Wild by Elliot Rose is about. What happens when you're snowed in on a mountain ranch in Montana with the only man you definitely should not be fantasizing about? I have always done what was expected of me. Layla Birch, the good girl, forced to grow up too fast, to take care of everything herself. I had a plan, only I didn't count on him. Colton Wilder, the cowboy nearly twice my age. He's my dream man. Only one who takes care of me, gives me a job, and gives me a pulse thud harder every time he comes near. My ex-boyfriend's father. The nights are long and cold on top of this mountain. As snow grows thicker and tension builds between us, we're both inching closer to a line we should not cross. Each day it grows harder to resist the man who looks at me with longing eyes. It's tempting to forget about being the good girl for once. No one would find out, would they? Ooh. What happens when you're snowed in on a mountain ranch in Montana with the one man you definitely should not be fantasizing about? In this spicy new Forbidden Love series debut novel from the internationally bestselling author Elliot Rose, age is just a number and attraction is everything. A Crimson Ridge novel. Okay, so all of her books link like the men on the mountain are like friends or know each other. So it makes the world somewhat connected, which is really cool as you go throughout the series. But also, this edition has an additional like chapter and epilogue, which is so exciting because I read this book a while ago, so I cannot wait to reread it. Also, my birthday's right around the corner, so I was beyond stoked when I saw the character art on the inside, and it's just these 2 characters kissing in the snow, and it's colored. It's so pretty. So thank you so much, Elliot Rose, for this book. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I cannot wait to read it. Okay, on to the next book I recently read and loved. It was actually really, really good. It hit the spot. This is from the same author who wrote Praise. Very spicy, very fun, lots of yearning, and that is The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Kate. I recently read this book. I really, really liked it. I did love it at times. Did it grip me the same way that Praise did? No, but it was really, really good. It had a single dad, it had grief, it's set in Paris. It has dual point of view. It has lots of spice. It also has a lot of discussions of consent, and there's a lot of discussions prior to the intimacy and spicy moments. So it's clear what is going to happen, and it's really beautiful how the found family is an element of the story, and the discussion of grief and the discussion of communication. And I just really appreciated that. It was a very tender story, and also like the love element felt natural. Like I did believe these characters fell in love. So let's listen to a little bit more about what the story is about. His praise is forbidden, his touch is irresistible. Jack St. Clair is desperate. A grieving single father, he buries himself in his work, running a brand new kink club in Paris instead of handling his grief. He's built a fortress around his heart, and it's time he hired someone to help him take care of his daughter before things get worse. Camille Aubert wasn't looking for a new job. She just wanted to return a lost love letter she found within the pages of a book. But when she's mistaken for a job candidate and hired as Jack's live-in nanny, something tells her this is exactly where she needs to be. Shortly after arriving, Camille discovers a strange room in his apartment that sparks her curiosity. I know what you're thinking. Is this like 50 Shades of Grey? No, it's done very, very well. And Camille speaks up for herself. And I absolutely love how Jack deeply respected her. And the grumpy sunshine element in this story is awesome. Okay. But let's continue. And hints at a dark, mysterious side to Jack that she's desperate to uncover. The lines between professional and personal blur dangerously as the heat between them becomes impossible to ignore. She's drawn to the broken man who hides his grief in ropes and bondage, and she challenges him in ways he never thought possible. Caught between growing feelings for Jack and the ghosts of his past, Camille must decide, can love heal a heart still grieving, or will their passion destroy them both? And that is The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Kate. This is such a good story. I loved Praise, and this story does link to like the kids of that series. So it is a legacy series. I do not think you have to read the series to appreciate The Good Girl Effect. It stands on its own, but it is a really beautiful story, and it has quite a bit of spice. The edges are sprayed with this beautiful like magenta pink element, and also, the inside has some really beautiful character art that is super spicy and fun. So I got this on Amazon. It was absolutely amazing. Okay. So a book that I have been loving, hands down, cannot stop reading it at night. I have work tomorrow, is Mates by Ali Hazelwood. In my next episode, I go into a little bit more depth about why I love this book so much. And I do have a spin-off episode coming out with some friends from Bookmates about Bride and Mate. And we go all in depth about both stories. But for now, I'll tester about why I loved Mate so much. Bride for me was my first Ali Hazelwood book since The Love Hypothesis. I did take a break because I didn't fall in love with that story the way I wanted to. I do own Deep End. I won it in a giveaway, but I'm kind of saving that for the summertime. So I'm looking forward to reading that next year. But as of right now, Nate, I don't know what Ali Hazelwood did, but the way she writes paranormal romance is so unique. And it reminds me a lot about the Black Dagger Brotherhood series and how that was written and how much I loved the female main characters and their friendships and the way that they interact with the men in these stories. But in Nate, this is the second book after Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So Bride had Marriage of Convenience. It had a vampire and a werewolf who had to get married due to some political things happening in that story. And it follows Misery in book one and her experiences with navigating love and navigating being in society and being hated so much and her search for her best friend who at the time was missing. And in Mate book two, you end up learning more about Serena, the best friend, and what her life has been like and finding out who she is and who she ends up with and how they navigate their relationship and all the things that come with being part of a pack and the rules of this world. And it is just so, so good. So I don't want to do too much of this book because you could spoil it if you have not read Bride. So I would recommend reading Bride and then reading Mate, but low key, this book could stand on its own. It's absolutely amazing. And I annotated it so much because the quotes in this story are so beautiful. And the spice actually happens later on in the story. This book is a lot of banter and longing, but when the spice comes, it comes and it is so good. So I highly recommend this book, especially if you're into wolf romances year round, but it's actually pretty great for Halloween. Okay. And some more books I want to recommend that I've really, really been loving recently, I didn't get a chance to mention on the podcast, is The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich by Oila Munoz. This is a graphic novel. I actually read this last month. It was so cute. It has queer representation. The main character has to dress like a man. I don't want to spoil why, but something happens in their life and they live in a society where they have to marry a man and they don't want to. Their father ends up passing away, so the only way for them to keep their money is to hide and to dress like a man and to kind of stay away from society. But they end up going to a party one night and catching feelings for a very famous like duchess like princess in this world, and they both love grilled cheese and the story just goes from there. The art is absolutely beautiful. It's so pastel-y and pink, and the humor is beautiful. The heart, identity, the longing, the love, the miscommunication. This is just such a beautiful romance. So I highly recommend The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich. It's a great graphic novel. I just loved it so much. Another book that I have really been loving, it's one of my favorite books of the year. I actually got to interview the author, so please check out that episode. It's on YouTube and Spotify, and that is New Growth by Tashi B. Williams. This story, each major element in the story is linked to a phase in Black women's hair, like the big chop when you cut off all the damage in your hair so it can grow back naturally, something I did in high school. It also has elements of braiding, protective hairstyles. Each big moment in the story has these elements of hair because the main character actually works with hair and she creates conditioners and she ends up going to a different part of the world after some really traumatic experiences in order to heal who she is and learn about her business and later establish it. So let's hear a little bit more about New Growth. What was it about grief that made all other emotions feel small? Elliot Sawyer has spent years trying to answer that question. Ever since her father's sudden death and a vile betrayal, she buried herself in work, travel, and liquor, building walls so high no one could dare climb them. Love isn't safe, trust isn't an option, and letting someone in only leads to heartbreak. But grief isn't something you can outrun. It lingers, waiting, demanding to be felt. And when the past refuses to stay buried, Ellie is forced to ask herself if she's strong enough to face it, or if she'll keep pushing away the one person who refuses to let her go. Elliot Green, older, steady, and battling a body that no longer listens. He understands loss in a way that most people never could. He sees grief she won't talk about, the weight she pretends isn't there, and worse, he makes her want to stop running. But love has never come easy for either of them. He wants her to trust him. She wants to believe he won't break her. And with every stolen glance, every careful touch, he starts to feel like everything she's been missing. So this is actually a really unique story as well because the love story, both characters have the same name. So the main love interest goes by Ellie, and her love interest goes by Elliot. And it's actually really sweet and refreshing the way that they approach love and communication and their boundaries. I do want to mention as well that the story does discuss the loss of a parent. It discusses grief. It discusses alcoholism as well as discussing diabetes and taking care of someone who is experiencing a lot of grief and experiencing a lot of trauma. It is a really beautiful story about rediscovering yourself, self love, setting boundaries as a people pleaser, and navigating an adult relationship while experiencing trauma and navigating that together. It's Black love and it's a slow burn and it's just very tender and beautiful. So I highly recommend New Growth by Tashi B. Williams. And if you want to hear more about the story, please listen to our interview. The author also designed this beautiful cover, which is a Black woman with a large fro covered in bandages, and there's leaves growing around her, and it's just absolutely beautiful. The author is so talented. So I highly recommend supporting her. Okay, so next I want to mention a book I actually recently got from an author. So I just wanted to thank her so much, and that is Marisa Churchill. This is Secrets, Spells, and Chocolate. She also sent me some dark chocolate. I'm so, so grateful. It tastes amazing. She sent me some other sweets that actually companions with this story. This is an ARC copy, so it'll be coming out soon in the future. So it'll be coming out in December 25th of this year. So please check it out. But I did just want to say thank you to the author for giving me this art copy. I won't be going into depth about the story just yet, but I will read the blurb on the back. And then, yeah, just keep an eye out and add this to your TBR. And also, I'll be interviewing her very soon. So that's exciting. At the world's greatest magical cooking school, risks matter just as much as whisks. Sylvie Jones has been dreaming of attending her mother's alma mater, Brindle School of Culinary Arts and Magic, since she was old enough to reach the stove. Unfortunately, her last name has a horrible stain on it, something that could destroy her dream. So when Sylvie is given the opportunity to prove her skills and put an end to rumors that her mother treated her way to victory at the most prestigious school of cooking competition, the Golden Whisk, she takes it. But when the opportunity may not be all that it's cracked up to be, if Sylvie truly wants to make her own mark and earn a place at Brindle, she needs to uncover the truth about what happened all those years ago. But some will go to great lengths to ensure Sylvie fails, and she soon finds herself tangled in a web of deceit. With the unlikely help of a frenemy, Georgia Shaw and a rising star student, Flora Jackson, Sylvie must find a way to get to the Golden Whisk All-Star competition and uncover the past before time runs out. Will she be able to redeem her family's name and save her future, or will it end in burnt butter and broken dreams? And that is Secrets, Spells, and Chocolate by Marisa Churchill. I also want to mention this author was actually on Food Network. They were on Top Shelf season 2. So they actually have worked in the food world and the culinary world. And the way that they're writing this young adult story can appeal to all ages. But I'm just beyond excited to read this. It seems like it has a lot of heart. And I appreciate how much effort this author went through to send it to me. And I cannot wait to interview her very soon and share that with all of you. Okay. And the last book I want to mention that is perfect for autumn, and I cannot wait to fall in love with even more. I have read stories from it, and I have interviewed one of the editors for the story, and that is Night of the Living Queers, edited by Shelley Page and Alex Brown. This story is a anthology with spooky tales, and it has queer representation, which I absolutely love to see. So let's read the back. Night of the Living Queers is a young adult horror anthology that explores a night when anything is possible, exclusively featuring queer authors of color, putting fresh spins on classic horror tropes and tales. No matter its name, Halloween is more than a Hallmark holiday. It's a symbol of transformation. Night of the Living Queers is a young adult horror anthology that explores how Halloween can be more than just candies and frights, but a night when anything is possible. Each short story is told through the lens of a different BIPOC teen and tells the tale of Halloween night that changes their life forever. Creative, creepy, and queer. This collection brings fresh terror, heart, and humor to young adult literature, and that is Night of the Living Queers. I cannot wait to go into more depth about this story very, very soon. I do love a good horror anthology. Okay, so let's go a little bit into these bookish unboxings, shall we? So this is my first package. Let's get into it. Okay, I pulled it out. And this is A Dance with Death by Amanda Linsmeier. And I really hope I said your name right. I'm so sorry. The author sent me this book. I will be interviewing her very soon. And this is an arc. So let's hop right into it. Each word is enchanted as he warns, do not ever steal from me again. Ooh. Corliss Bell would do anything to bring her older sister Evan back to life. When a town mystic tells Corliss there's a demon living nearby who may be the key in returning Evan to life, she's emboldened by the idea of getting her beloved sister back. Corliss sneaks into the demon's dilapidated mansion to beg for his help, but instead of finding him, she discovers a pair of enchanted red ballet slippers and steals them. The demon comes to reclaim what's his, but finds Corliss and the slippers hopelessly intertwined. He imprisons her in his mansion, forcing her to dance for him every night as a punishment for stealing. Far from a helpless captive, Corliss begins working on a plan to bring Avian back to life. As soon as she can discover or she can convince the demon Orion to help her. Hauntingly beautiful, with lush prose and a vividly creepy atmosphere, A Dance with Death is a compulsively juicy read that will wind its way into your psyche. Part horror, part magic. This gothic love story you didn't know you were missing. Oh my gosh. Also, I do want to read the description of the author because it sounds absolutely adorable. Amanda Linsmeier has been a book nerd as long as she can remember, and it was the great love of reading that eventually brought her to writing her own stories. She feels more joyful when writing, screaming, singing her favorite songs, playing in the water, and laughing with her beloved family. And this comes out January 27th of 2026. So I cannot wait to interview the author about her inspiration for A Dance with Death. And it just sounds absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for this gifted art copy. Okay. And my next bookish unboxing item is from Aardvark Book Club. I've never had an Aardvark Book Club book box before, so this is my first one. It was a bit of a tongue twister. Okay, so let's do a little unboxing, shall we? Okay, so here we go. All right, I'm going to try out this author. I've heard amazing freaking things. I'm a huge horror fan. So fingers crossed. And that is Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I've had so many friends recommend this author to me it's about damn time. I have tried reading his book with the killer mannequins, and it just wasn't for me. But that does not mean that this book may not be for me. I am a huge fan of vampires. I love reading more from indigenous horror authors. It means a lot to me, and I feel like I just want to use my platform to support all authors of color. So I'm so excited. So what is this book about? This chilling historical novel is set in the nascent days of the state of Montana, following Blackfeet Indian named Goodstab as he hunts the fields of the Blackfeet Nation looking for justice. It begins when a diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor is discovered within a wall in 2012. What is unveiled is a slow massacre, a nearly forgotten chain of events that goes back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow, told in the transcribed interviews with Goodstab, who shares the narrative of his peculiar yet unnaturally long life over a series of confessional visits. This is an American Indian revenge story, captured in the vivid voices of the time by one of the great masters of literary horror, Stephen Graham Jones. And this is Buffalo Hunter Hunter. I cannot wait to read this. I'm really excited. I like the idea of writing and reading stories linked to horror that pull at your heartstrings. I also really loved um, the letter he wrote for the beginning of Never Whistle at Night because I liked how he talks about walking through blood, walking through this story in order to really get to the heart of horror. And I thought it was a really interesting concept. So the next book that I want to share is exclusive to Aardvark. And I just really, really was like, I need this book. Also, it has Rachel Harrison in it. And you know I had to get that book right away. And this is a horror anthology, and this is One Bad Night and Other Stories. So this is stories by Kay Krosner, Del Sandine, Kylie Lee Baker, Rachel Harrison, CJ Lead, Jennifer Thorne, S.A. Barnes, and Stephen Graham Jones. So short stories. I love to see it. So let's read the inside. Horror lovers everywhere, get ready for one bad night. In two observers of the slaughter rites on Gannett Island, an anthropologist and his wife travel to the remote Gannett Island to observe a mysterious yearly ritual. In my lithopedia, a woman learns she has an unborn twin sister extracted as a stone baby during her late mother's autopsy and decides to keep it. In My Lady Jawbone, Lilo is trapped working inside a nightmarish phosphorus match factory when a strange new arrival offers her a way out. In A Necromancer's Guide to Reconnecting with an Ex, you know who this is by, right? This is Rachel Harrison. The ghost of Roxanne's rock and roll ex asks her to resurrect him, forcing her to confront what it means to truly let go. In Red Tide, a woman running from her past finds work at a small town aquarium where she encounters a specter fish, a carnivorous mer creature of local lore. In 47 Pineview Way, an anxious mother drops off her son at his first sleepover, but the next morning the house where she left him has disappeared. No, immediately no. In a meditation on the existence of a certain cutlery, there is no spoon. Commander Jenna Field is on a covert mission on the lunar South Pole, or is she? In One Bad Night, Steck, an aging, lonely man, becomes fixated on a sinister green parrot after it seems to predict death of his beloved dog. And that is One Bad Night and Other Stories, a horror anthology from Aardvark. I had to read it. I have been obsessed with horror anthologies since The Black Girl Survives in this one of my favorite books of all time. So I'm trying to like find that book that fills that dark hole in my heart. So I'm sorry, my mic fell. Fingers crossed. Okay, and the last book in my little haul is actually a book I'm reading with my grandma. She's a huge Stephen King fan. She loves a good spooky story. And even though I may not be a fan of Stephen King, I also love a good spooky story. So I sent her a copy, I saved up my money, and I got myself a copy as well so we can read it together and we can talk about it on the phone. And that is The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. So I actually posted about this on social media because I cannot wait to read it. And I was like, my grandma and I are reading this. So the author was so sweet. And I can't wait to read this and talk about it with my grandma. And there will definitely be a little episode coming out about this book very soon. So let's read the description. Brimming with dark humor, violence, and mystery, the Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre is a blood soaked slasher that will keep readers guessing until the very last page. Rose is in her late 70s, living out her golden years at the Autumn Springs retirement home. When one of her friends dies alone in her apartment, Rose isn't too concerned. Accidents happen, especially at this age. Then another resident drops dead, and then another, and with bodies stacking up, Rose can't help but wonder, are these accidents, old age, or something else far more sinister? Together with her best friend Miller, Rose begins to investigate, and the further she digs, the more convinced she becomes. There's a killer on the loose at Autumn Springs, and if Rose isn't careful, she may be the next victim. I'm telling you, I cannot wait to read this book. I'm just so excited, and I love a good murder mystery, especially at like a specific location, and it's like it's got to be someone here. I need it. So this is my little book haul and some books that I've been loving. A little bookish haul that I hope that you guys all like to hear about. And thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, you can like it and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, you can leave me a nice little rating. Please, like 4 or 5 stars, be kind, and follow for updates on stories and spoilers. I hope you have a wonderful night and a spooky evening or day. And if you don't like spooks, then just keep these amazing stories on your mind. I'm always here for a spooky episode, but I'm also a girl who is a scaredy cat. So there's that. But I hope you have a wonderful day. Sorry for all the stutters. And thank you for listening. Have a great day and enjoy your evening.